Well, welcome, folks, to this edition of the 700 Club. It's really disgraceful what the Democrats are doing. The Republicans confirmed about 7 of Obama's cabinet picks on the day of inauguration. They're all set to go, but not so with the Democrats. They're slow-walking everything, making a big fight, making a big stink out of it. And yet, the Republicans have the votes, and they're finally beginning to get tough. And last night, they confirmed Jeff Sessions as Attorney General. That is a major step forward for them. The reason is the Attorney General will be picking the judges and suggesting the judicial appointments on many levels. And he could have had any place in the government he wanted, and he asked for Attorney General, and he's got it. But with that in mind, the Democrats are promising to keep fighting the president's agenda. Wendy?
No surprise there, Pat. And President Trump is still waiting for the Senate to approve several more of his cabinet appointees. George Thomas brings us the story.
The ayes are 52, the nays are 47.
The vote for Sessions was almost completely along party lines, with Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia being the only Democrat to side with Republicans to confirm the nation's top law enforcement officer.
I appreciate the full debate that we've had. I want to thank those who, after it all, found sufficient confidence in me to cast their vote to confirm me as the next Attorney General of the United States of America.
20 days after taking the oath of office, President Trump only has 6 of his 15 cabinet nominees in place. By this time, President Obama had 12 confirmed. President George W. Bush had all of his voted in. The president took to Twitter to air some of his frustration, writing, "It is a disgrace that my full cabinet is still not in place. The longest such delay in the history of our country. Obstruction by Democrats." Votes are set later this week for Steve Mnuchin as Treasury Secretary and Tom Price as Secretary of Health and Human Services. Price will play a key role in repealing and replacing Obamacare. Democrats and their allies are promising they won't let the law go down without a fight. As Democrats search for a strategy to deal with the Trump administration and a Republican-controlled Congress,
3 weeks in the White House has revealed that President Trump is exactly who we thought he is: incompetent, and in some cases, and in terms of our national security, dangerous.
They are meeting for their annual retreat in Baltimore this week, and the party's top leadership is making clear it will fight the president at every turn. "We're not irrelevant at all," said Steny Hoyer, the number 2 Democrat in the House. "We don't have to have our head bowed. We don't have to retreat in any way." So it appears that for the foreseeable future, President Trump is going to be facing more bitter opposition from Democrats. George Thomas, CBN News.
I can't remember in recent memory anything that's been like this. This is partisan wrangling. These Democrats don't care for America. I mean, Trump's mantra is "Make America Great Again," and he wants to do it. And he's putting superb candidate choices in place, superb people, highly qualified. And it's going to be one of the best cabinets in history. I think it's time for Mitch McConnell and the Republicans to say we've had enough of this and just start jamming those things through. And they have the votes, and they ought to take it and just get it over with. I mean, this is, like drip torture, and we just can't keep having this. But it needs to be taken care of, and it needs to be taken care of swiftly, because the next thing that is very important is the confirmation of a Supreme Court justice. And what's going to happen is a lot of these cases are going to come up, and there'll be a tie vote, and the liberals may prevail unless the Supreme Court, it goes back to that 5-4 balance that they had with Justice Scalia. Well, in other news, President Trump has had some strong words for federal judges over his presidential order on immigration. John Jessup has this.
Thanks, Pat. The president's statement came as the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals considers his temporary travel ban on 7 Muslim-majority countries with ties to terrorism.
I don't ever want to call a court biased, so I won't call it biased. And we haven't had a decision yet. But courts seem to be so political.
The president also criticized the lower court judge who put the temporary travel ban on hold. And now a Democratic senator says Trump's Supreme Court nominee, Neil Gorsuch, told him the president's criticism of judges is, quote, demoralizing and disheartening. Despite the order's political and legal controversy, a new poll from Politico shows the public supports Trump's action on immigration. 55% approve of the order, while 38% disapprove. Well, just days after President Trump took office, Iran launched a ballistic missile test violating a UN resolution. As Chris Mitchell explains, a quick White House response showed Iran and the world that the Trump administration is taking a much harder line with Iran.
A ballistic missile launch in late January may have been Iran's way of testing the reaction time of the new Trump administration. It didn't take long to find out.
President Trump has severely criticized the various agreements reached between Iran and the Obama administration, as well as the United Nations, as being weak and ineffective. Instead of being thankful to the United States in these agreements, Iran is now feeling emboldened. As of today, we are officially putting Iran on notice.
Putting Iran on notice, I think, is making good use of the bully pulpit and not letting Iran get off the hook.
After the ballistic missile test, Fox News reported Iran launched a short-range missile. But just days ago, Iran removed another ballistic missile from its launch pad.
It remains to be seen if that was a direct response to the Trump administration saying that Iran is on notice, or if there was a technical issue or a technical failure that made them remove the missile. But I think Iran should be cautious.
Many Middle East analysts believe appeasement isn't the way to deal with Iran.
Strength works, and I think the Iranian regime would be the first ones to tell you that. Let's remember that when Ronald Reagan became president, the Iranians released all the American hostages for fear that under Ronald Reagan, the United States would take military action.
This new attitude represents a major departure from how President Obama dealt with the mullahs in Tehran. It also puts Israel and the U.S. on the same page.
For the first time in the past 8 years, Israel and its greatest ally and friend, the United States, see the Middle East in very similar ways. The number one threat to regional Middle Eastern stability and security is the Islamic Republic of Iran and their nuclear-backed surge for regional dominance.
The Iranian threat may seem remote to people in Europe and the United States, but it's a different story here. An Iranian official boasted that one of their ballistic missiles could reach Israel in 7 minutes. Dan Diker edited this journal 10 years ago, warning of the Iranian threat.
It is like an octopus spreading its tentacles and destabilizing almost every country in the Middle East except Israel.
And the end goal is to eventually threaten the United States.
It targets U.S. allies in the region, it targets U.S. partners in the region, and it seeks to unravel U.S. national security goals in the region. It wants to change the balance of power that the U.S. has helped array against Tehran in the Persian Gulf.
The major question facing the Trump administration is how to address the nuclear deal with Iran. On the campaign trail, Trump said he would repeal or renegotiate the agreement, but it remains to be seen what direction he will take as president. It's an item sure to be on the agenda when Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu meet next week in Washington. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Thanks, Chris. And Pat, just yesterday, Iran launched another surface-to-air missile.
Well, it's dangerous. They're doing everything they can to tweak us. They don't believe we're serious, but they're dealing with a new sheriff in town. And I believe with Michael Flynn and people like that, these are tough guys, and they're not going to take it lying down. We have the stuff. You know, there's a place called Karj Island that is a center of so much of their export of petroleum. A few well-placed bunker-busting bombs would take that out, and it would destroy the Iranian economy. You wouldn't have to go nuclear, but something has got to be done to shut those people down. They're the instigator of terror all over the world. And Wendy, I think it's time to get tough, don't you?
You know, even though these are tough guys, Maddox and the other guy you just mentioned, Flynn, I don't think they're trigger happy. I think they're smart. I think that they're going to use their strength, you know, from the bully pulpit like they did today, and hopefully that'll avoid war.
The last thing a smart general wants is to go to war. They know war is hell, and they don't want to get into war. But at the same time, the thing that Reagan said is so true is peace through strength, and that's what Trump is saying. You have peace if you're strong. If you're strong enough, the other guys won't try to go after you. Okay, well, at home, it's crazy. The groundhog saw his shadow. Puxatawny Phil got pulled out of his hole and said 6 more weeks of winter. And it looks like Phil is in triumph today and tomorrow. John, what do you have?
That's right, Pat. It looks like you got it right. Here at home, some weather whiplash after warm temperatures give way to a huge snowstorm in the Northeast.
Put the top down and then get ready for the snow.
It's crazy. I've been sick for 3 weeks because of this weather, I think. Cold, hot, cold, hot. We just need consistency.
Forecasters expect the major storm system to bring the region the heaviest snowfall of the season. New York could see a total of around 10 inches of snow, people being told to stay home. Other areas like Philadelphia could get up to 6 inches of snow, while Boston's expected to get up to a foot. In response, public schools in the 3 cities announced they were closed today. Pat, a lot of happy kids in the Northeast.
I guess they are. It's still time to build a snowman and go skiing.
I'm so jealous. I
you
love
like that?
snow.
Oh, you do?
I know a lot of people don't, but
of course I love snow.
Everybody's on Facebook praying against the snow. I'm like, no, let it snow.
When you live in New York City, as I did for a while, and all you got is slush, and you step off the sidewalk and about 18 inches of slush in your shoes, that's not fun.
That's true.